The Strait of Hormuz, 21 miles wide, and the entire world is holding its breath. Two American carrier strike groups cut through the warm waters of the Gulf. Radars active, sonar on standby, sailors at their stations. Professional, confident, routine. But something changed this week, and in the windowless intelligence centers beneath the Pentagon, the maps on the walls are telling a story that nobody wants to read aloud. Iran, Russia and China moved together toward the same strait at the same moment. This is not an exercise. This is not a coincidence. This is a message. To understand the magnitude of what is happening in the Strait of Hormuz, at this precise moment, you must first understand the geography of power. The strait measures 21 miles at its narrowest point. Through that opening flows approximately 20% of the world's total oil supply. Every day, all of it squeezed through a bottleneck so narrow that a determined military force, equipped with the right weapons, could close it like a fist closing around a throat. This is not a metaphor. This is pure military geography. The timeline matters more than most media coverage is letting on. On February the 17th, a Russian corvette docked at Bandar Abbas, Iran's main naval base sitting directly on the Strait of Hormuz. The same day, Chinese and Iranian warships moved into the Gulf of Oman and the northern Indian Ocean, completing the formation together. This was the official launch of Maritime Security Belt 2026, a trilateral exercise that Russia, China and Iran have organized every year since 2019. 7 consecutive years. The official framing is always identical: anti-piracy, search and rescue, protection of trade routes. That description sounds routine until the moment you look at what was happening on shore at the exact same instant. Trump had just given Iran 10 to 15 days to present an acceptable nuclear agreement. The White House Situation Room had convened specifically to discuss military options. Two carrier strike groups were already en route. B-2 stealth bombers had been prepositioned at Diego Garcia. F-22s had been moved forward toward the region. It is in this precise context, against this explosive backdrop, that Russia, China and Iran deployed their ships anyway, on schedule, together, with visible, deliberate, calculated confidence. That confidence is exactly the part that deserves more attention than it is receiving. Before explaining to you why that confidence is the most dangerous element of this entire scenario, here is what most analyses have not taken the time to break down. Iran has known for 40 years what this geography means. For 40 years, the Revolutionary Guard's Navy has transformed the northern coastline into a layered field of coverage. The fast boats are just the visible surface of something far more dangerous underneath. Iran operates Ghadir-class and Fateh-class submarines, purpose-built for the shallow, acoustically chaotic coastal waters of the strait. In deep ocean, American anti-submarine warfare is essentially unmatched. In 200 feet of turbulent thermocline-layered Gulf water, the calculations change significantly. More than 20 Ghadir-class mini-submarines have been positioned along predictable U.S. carrier approach routes. The usable shipping channels through the strait's narrowest point measure roughly 2 miles in each direction. A submarine there does not need to hunt its target. It simply waits. Then there are the mines. Iran holds approximately 6,000 naval mines. And here is the critical analytical element that almost nobody mentions. Iran does not need to detonate a single one. Not one. The moment credible intelligence reveals that Iran has begun loading mines onto fast boats, maritime insurers pull coverage within hours. No coverage means no tanker transit. No transit means no oil flow. Without a single shot being fired, without giving Washington a clean legal trigger for a response. This is the most sophisticated form of warfare there is: paralyze without attacking. This week's exercise added armed drones operating from Iran's 3 strategic islands, Abu Musa, Greater Tunb and Lesser Tunb, sitting directly in the middle of the strait. From those islands, drone swarms are already in the engagement zone, before any defensive system has fully cycled. Each American defensive intercept costs between $400,000 and $2 million. An Iranian drone cost a fraction of that. The Houthi campaign in the Red Sea ran exactly this financial playbook against American destroyers, and the arithmetic was consistently unfavorable for the defender. Every exchange made the defender poorer. This is a deliberately engineered asymmetry. But Iran alone has always had limits. Its electronic systems are dated. Its satellite coverage is patchy. Its ability to track American vessels in real time has always had critical blind spots, which means its missiles, however numerous, struck with imperfect precision against maneuvering targets. The targeting problem has always separated Iranian missiles from actual lethality. Until this week. This is precisely why what Russia and China brought this week changed everything. Russia's surface presence is genuinely constrained in 2026. The war in Ukraine extracted a real toll on Russian naval capacity. One corvette. To anyone measuring power by hull count, Russia's contribution looks almost symbolic. That reading misses the point entirely. When Russia is physically present, this stops being a Sino-Iranian regional drill by any definition Washington can use in its public framing. It becomes a trilateral deployment of 3 permanent members of the UN Security Council, 2 active nuclear arsenals in the water, 3 veto rights over any in response. You cannot call this a rogue state provocation. Every justification for American action must now account for those 2 permanent members in the water. Russia raises the diplomatic cost of any response by an order of magnitude, without firing a single round. Russia also brings battle-hardened electronic warfare systems refined through 3 years of active conflict in Ukraine, tested against NATO-supplied equipment in real combat conditions. Radar jamming, GPS spoofing, interference with the sensor networks that carrier strike groups depend on for situational awareness. These are not theoretical systems. These are systems that have worked against Western equipment in real war conditions. Then China moved and the equation shifted again. Beijing deployed a Type 055 Renhai-class destroyer, 13,000 tons, 112 vertical launch cells, and as of late 2025, confirmed hypersonic anti-ship missiles aboard. A hypersonic terminal approach at Mach 5 or faster compresses the defensive response window from several minutes to seconds. The U.S. Navy has publicly acknowledged the hypersonic threat as a developmental priority in congressional testimony as recently as 2024. What you have is a Chinese destroyer, carrying a weapons system that the American fleet has no confirmed operational defense against. Remember that fact? It structures everything else. China did not send the Type 055 alone. It came with the Liang Wang, a dedicated intelligence collection ship, whose entire operational purpose is to track U.S. carrier strike group movements in real time. That vessel fires nothing. Its job is to watch, record and continuously relay positioning data. The question of who receives that feed answers itself. Layer Russian electronic warfare over Chinese surveillance and Iranian maritime denial assets, and what you get are not 3 separate navies. What you get is an integrated operational system. Iran provides the geography and asymmetric denial tools. China provides hypersonic strike reach and real-time targeting data. Russia provides nuclear credibility, battle-tested electronic warfare, and the diplomatic weight that transforms 3 navies into something Washington cannot publicly dismiss. 7 years of exercises transformed improvisation into design. Each nation's weakness is covered by another's strength. Here now is what nobody had anticipated. And this is where everything tilts. It is 3 o'clock in the morning, local time. The strait is dark. Both American carrier strike groups are operating in coordinated formation. Aegis cruisers positioned ahead of each group. SPY-1 radars sweeping the sky in all directions. The Chinese Type 055 destroyer, 40 miles to the southeast, has been passively collecting for 6 hours. The Liang Wang alongside it has built a complete electromagnetic portrait of both carrier groups. Every radar emission frequency, every communications protocol, the precise electronic signature of every vessel. It transmits nothing hostile. It simply watches and shares. But here is what makes this moment qualitatively different from any previous standoff. And it has nothing to do with the number of Russian or Chinese ships deployed. Iran's commanders, watching their screens in hardened bunkers beneath the Zagros Mountains, are operating with a confidence no previous generation of Revolutionary Guards officers has ever possessed. For the first time, they know exactly where both American carriers are. Not approximately, not with a 30-minute lag from commercial satellite imagery. In real time, updated every 2 seconds. Fed directly from the Liang Wang. The targeting problem that has always separated Iranian missiles from actual lethality, hitting a maneuvering vessel at range with imperfect positional data, has been solved for them by Chinese technology they did not have to build or pay for. Iran's commanders also know that the moment they act, Russian electronic warfare activates, surgically targeted, and suddenly the encrypted data links threading the 2 American carrier groups together begin to stutter. The cooperative engagement capability that makes a carrier strike group function as a single integrated organism runs on the precise frequency bands that Russian systems, refined in Ukrainian combat, know how to degrade. Not destroy. Degrade. Introduce lag. Create windows measured in seconds that determine whether a missile is intercepted or whether it hits. 47 Iranian fast attack craft emerge simultaneously from coastal inlets on both sides of the strait, splitting the defensive response of both carrier groups across multiple vectors simultaneously. Russian electronic warfare activates, surgical, targeted. The shared tactical picture begins to flicker. The unified defensive brain develops a stutter. 12 anti-ship cruise missiles drop below radar horizon and begin low-altitude terminal approaches in spread formation, forcing both Aegis systems to simultaneously engage multiple separate track files. 8 are intercepted, 4 are not. Phalanx systems engage at knife fight range to more disintegrate. 1 is deflected by chaff. 1 gets through. Before the damage report reaches the captain's bridge, the second wave is already airborne. Iranian ballistic missiles rise from hardened mountain silos on near-vertical trajectories, diving toward the carrier's flight deck at hypersonic speed from almost directly above, through the geometric blind spot that naval architects have debated since the first carrier sailed. The Aegis system must simultaneously handle first attack aftermath, coordinate with ships whose data links are stuttering, track swarming fast boats, and engage near vertically descending ballistic threats with terminal maneuvering that shifts the intercept geometry in the final seconds. Iran's commanders are watching real-time positioning updates every 2 seconds from the Liang-Wang 1. The warheads do not guess where the carrier will be. They know. And 40 miles to the southeast, the Type 055 has not fired a single weapon. Its hypersonic missiles remain in their vertical launch cells. Present. Confirmed. Without any known defense against them. Every American commander who considers expanding the engagement, who thinks about striking Iranian shore installations, must calculate those cells into every option. The weapons never fired are shaping the battle as surely as the ones that were. In intelligence centers from Tel Aviv to Tokyo, in the Situation Room beneath the White House, everyone is watching the same question unfold. The strength of this coalition was never about how many Russian or Chinese ships entered the strait. 1 corvette and 1 destroyer would not have frightened a U.S. carrier group by hull count alone. What changed Washington's calculus was the invisible transfer of capability. Russian electronic warfare born in Ukrainian combat, Chinese sensor technology that solved Iran's targeting blindness, diplomatic architecture that made escalation geometrically more complex with every additional flag in the water. 7 years of exercises that transformed 3 separate militaries into a system where each nation's weakness was covered by another's strength. Iran did not become more powerful because Russia sent more ships. Iran became more powerful because for the first time, it can see, and because the cost of what America might do in response has been raised by forces that never needed to pull a trigger. Either diplomacy finds a way out in the coming days, or the strait becomes something that military history textbooks will study for decades. The answer is coming, and you already know what the maps on the walls of the Pentagon are saying. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide. The question hanging over every mile of it is not whether the American carriers are powerful enough. The question is whether power in this new geometry still means what it used to mean. Iran does not back down. Russia does not back down. China does not back down. Not this week. Not in this strait. Not with this architecture in place. That is why the world is holding its breath, and that is why you should be doing the same.